2, 3, 4. In this podcast, you will hear Knights of Vader. Knights of Vader includes, but is not limited to, talk of Star Wars, not ray guns. We can truly prepare you for the joke that follows this song. But hey, we gave it a try, so here's the Knights of Vader. Crystal Fox reports they are divided. Prequel, sequel, canon, love they fighted. I know that we are just musicians tired, and their time is up, so here's the Knights of Vader.
Impressive. Most impressive.
A big thank you to An Insperiority Complex for providing our theme song. It is December 6th, 2021. My name is Zach Weber, and I am joined by arguably one of the most connected collectors of the Star Wars fandom, Chris Porteous.
It might not be immediately obvious exactly what that reference is alluding to, but depending on release order, it might become more clear soon.
Okay, talk about taking the hype out of the balloon. And we have Joe Yazzo, who is talking about something that he will never spend money on. Joe, what is up?
Nothing. I look forward to talking about something I will never spend money on.
Yes, folks, we are back at it again to talk about, oh God, the latest Star Wars punching bag, but certainly not the least, the Star Wars Galaxy of Adventure, Star Wars Howson, I don't even know how it's pronounced, hotel / $6,000 experience for 36 hours of fun. And I can't put enough quotation marks around that word, so I won't even try. For those who don't know at home, recently in the last week or so on the official Star Wars Disney Parks blog, they did this 2-minute long video hyping up the Star Wars hotel, which debuts or opens up sometime in March of next year. And this video became a PR disaster for the parks and Lucasfilm, because everyone just kept punching down on it. And it got so bad that they essentially took the video offline, and they did everything in their power to kind of scrub its existence off all these theme park blogs and stuff of that sort. But the damage had been done. And after kind of this small hullabaloo, I couldn't help but just kind of marvel in the fact that we're now almost 10 years from the Lucas sale, and Disney still keeps just fumbling Star Wars, at least on the marketing PR level. And I cannot figure out how they just cannot sell Star Wars. That's the part of this I find the most fascinating, regardless of the $6,000 hotel. But I don't want to jump too far ahead of my thoughts. So, Chris, what did you think of this whole debacle?
Well, I was a little confused because when I heard earlier that a video was taken down, I thought the video that was taken down was the lightsaber training thing. So that's really funny to me. So the crazy thing about this promo video is they're describe it as an early look. You have what's his face from the Goldbergs acting like an 11-year-old, and he's just this cartoonishly wide-eyed, hanging off every word this Imagineer is telling him. And essentially they walk through some hallways, and you see a cantina that looks, I would say, a fifth as good as the one in Galaxy's Edge, which is very strange that this one costs you $6,000 to go into, but it's not as good as the one in Galaxy's Edge. And you get a karaoke performance of a song that sounds like something out of The Little Mermaid, not something you'd experience in Star Wars. And that's the peak of this video. So it absolutely should have been laughed off the internet, because if you're trying to sell a immersive Star Wars experience, you might want to try including one or two things that are powerful Star Wars iconography in it that might make people who are Star Wars fans want to go. If you're going to advertise live performances as part of the matter, you realize that for a couple $100 you could see, the greatest bands in the world. So I'm not that interested in spending $6,000 to see a strange Disney karaoke performance. Show me something that actually looks engaging and fun.
Joe, what's your take on all this?
Well, you have to applaud Disney with this because they actually gave you the true experience of actually spending $6,000 to go to that hotel, because that's the amount of time, 2 minutes, that you'll actually spend in it.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
But it's true. You know, you get this like half-baked performance from the Fifth Element towards the end of the video.
Far too much credit, but continue. Yeah.
But it was like a poor high school equivalency performance of the Fifth Element. But I'll tell you, it made me not want to spend my money, even more so, because that was the big thing for me. I was like, I said I was never going to go there, and this actually just proves the fact that I will never go there.
Oh God, this thing, okay, this video is nothing short of like fascinating on every level. Like, a part of me wants to call this a work of art. And for the record, we'll link to this in the show notes. Somebody copied it and put it on YouTube, so it's there for now. Disney doesn't seem to be policing the copies, but everything about this video, like oh God, what is it? 60 seconds long? Like, it's by no means a lengthy piece of marketing, and yet everything about it is A, baffling, and B, captivating. Like, I was mesmerized by this because it doesn't focus on anything. Like, it's like, oh God, they're calling it a trailer, but which I think is weird for a hotel to have what you usually consider a part of like media marketing. But you look at this trailer, and kind of like what Chris says, is that like it's so hyper focused, yet it doesn't do anything to make you want to sign up for this. Like, pretty much the only focal point, there's two focal points of the trailer. The first one is, you get to stand on the faux bridge of the Starship Enterprise, and then you get to see a weird like cabaret performance that feels like something out of the holiday special.
It's like, but I can't help but wonder, like, have you guys even seen what the bridges look like in the sequel trilogy? Like, can I get a like episode 7 like Rebel cruiser style bridge, at least like something that kind of looks like a bridge from a Star Wars film? Is that a tall ask?
But this is the thing, though, is that like, once again, Disney doing its thing where, not Disney, but just, I don't know, Disney, Lucasfilm, I use those still interchangeably, is that like this ship, which is, oh God, I got to figure out the exact pronunciation of this thing because it's going to drive me crazy, because they say it in the video.
Halcyon?
How is that how it's done?
Yeah, Halcyon.
Yeah. Is that apparently again, this is all this retroactive lore, is that this ship has been around since like the prequel era, because I know there's like an Anakin Padme comic book that's coming out in the next few months, and it was present for like prequel level stuff.
All right, well, I mean, if you're trying to sort, like, I don't know what their design template would be. I don't think it's directly referencing anything that pre-existed.
No, it's not referencing anything pre-existed, but like apparently it was commissioned during the High Republic era. Everybody's favorite book series.
If I were to decide a sub media property of Star Wars to base this gigantic hotel on, that would definitely be the one.
But this is the thing I cannot figure out about this, is that nothing about this, like I said, they're not calling it a hotel, they're calling it an experience, which is fine. Like Joe said, you're going to sleep there for a grand total of like 6 hours one night, but it doesn't feel like Star Wars at all. Like, it feels like the holiday special. Like, and I don't mean that like as in the sense of like most people will interpret that line as like, oh, it's meant to be derogatory. It feels like Star Wars being recreated by people who have no idea what Star Wars is. Like, it feels like Star Wars, like, in name only. Like, it feels like it's like, it reminds me of like if you go into like Walmart and you see like the Hallmark ornaments, quote unquote, it's like, oh, it's those weird ones that they get like at Walmart and Walgreens, but not like the really nice ones you'll get from like a store in the mall. It's like, yeah, like it's an ornament. It's a Hallmark ornament, but not really. It feels like, oh God, like almost the same price, but like a fraction of the quality. Like there's this weird sort of just like, I don't want to even say hollow. It feels like a misrepresentation of what it's trying to convey itself as. Or am I reading this wrong?
Well, they're really emphasizing that it's an experience, to think of it as an experience and not think of it as a hotel. But thinking of it as a expensive hotel is the only way to get even remotely close to the value proposition they're offering here for the cost for what we're looking at. Like there's this phenomenon where within very pricey hotels, the mere fact that you're staying there overnight entitles them to charge you thousands of dollars. This experience is clearly way less interesting than simply going to Galaxy's Edge, but costs a multiple times as much. It really makes no sense as a interactive experience. They should have stuff that's I guess they can't have stuff that's just as good as they have in the park because 100 people at a time have access to it, so they can't invest that much, I guess.
But this is the thing though, is that like it doesn't take much to get people excited about Disney. Like okay, this is my own little anecdote. Is that this was a couple of days at my work. Like I was talking to a coworker and she was telling us that like how like she has a friend that's very wealthy. And I guess she's getting married. So she's getting, I don't know where she's getting married, but like for a bridesmaids, like getaway thing, they're going to the Animal Kingdom resort, the one that like overlooks like part of the quote savannah of Animal Kingdom. And some like ridiculous amount of money. Like she was telling me like it's some ridiculous amount of money per night, but she's not footing the bill. The friend is. And like, I'm like, yeah, like that's neat. And that's cool. But at the same time though, is that like, it's a hotel room, and like at least being able to like say like, you woke up and you had like a giraffe like within like what 5 yards of your like hotel balcony.
That's an experience. Yeah.
Yes,
that's an experience. You're not the best rooms in their artist renderings at the Halcyon class Starcruiser look rather small. You know, it from a tech standpoint, the windows have to be small because if you could walk 10 feet across your room, you'd be able to tell that it's a 2D screen out there. They need to keep your view very narrow so that you can't get a 3D perspective on the planet outside. So there's a lot of technical reasons why they can't get too crazy with the rooms.
But that's the thing, though, is that like if you're going to do a Star Wars experience hotel, why not do it on one of the planets? Like be like, oh, like that's like, I don't know, like you have to play into the limitations of reality. So like, I don't know, like for some reason why Bot 2 was created, why not do a hotel experience on Bot 2? Why is it this like weird, like, oh God, like I don't even know what to call this ship. Like, what would be the modern equivalent of something like this? Like, we don't know what Star Wars lodging on a starship is. Like, that's one thing we were talking about it before with like the bridge of like a sequel trilogy ship. Like, what is starship lodging in Star Wars outside of that one sequence in Attack of the Clones where we see Anakin and Padme and R2D2's like cutting the line and getting them pancakes?
Well,
like,
the reference material, the available reference material instantly begins to show itself in some of these concept renderings. Like you have beds cut out in the wall that are like the medical bed on the Millennium Falcon, essentially. So they, you know, the one time you ever saw a bed, that's what you get. The little kids have to sleep in wall cubby holes like the medical bed on the Millennium Falcon.
But this is the thing. But again, this goes back to the thing though, is that like they're creating a Star Wars quote unquote hotel experience, whatever it is, but they're doing it on an element of Star Wars that nobody should really care about, or nobody does care about. Like, think about it. Like when you're as a Star Wars fan, what are like the 3 most important things you would ever want to like emulate? Wielding a lightsaber that's as close to what the movies portray as possible, the Millennium Falcon, and then after that is what? Going to the cantina. No Star Wars fan wakes up one day and is like, you know, it'd be really cool sleeping in a Star Wars hotel. Like that, there's no part of this, like as a Star Wars fan, where you want to emulate the lodging experience of Star Wars, because that's not really a thing that we've ever seen. And when we do see it, it looks unpleasant at best. So I don't know why they just wouldn't create a Star Wars hotel that tries to do something like closer in mind to like that Animal Kingdom experience.
Yeah,
whereas
like a gated community in Batu where you could look down on all the peasants when you wake up in the morning. That's what you need.
But that's the thing though, because like any like Disney fan can tell you that like one of the biggest things they've always tried to do for like decades now is have like hotels in the actual park. Whether it be like the idea of Walt having that secret like apartment at Disneyland and things like that. So if you're going to do that, create like a little subsection of Batu and make that like its own little hotel thing. Because think about it, Batu is a wholly original planet. It can have whatever, climate it needs at that exact moment. You can say one part of the planet is this, one part of the planet is that. And there you go. Yet you're getting this very kind of just like, oh God. And clearly this is like, and now that I think about it, like the fact that this thing was designed in the High Republic era makes sense because the High Republic is supposed to be Star Trek, which explains why this thing looks so just overly polished and manicured.
I mean, to be fair, they will have the recreated Falcon 100 feet away somewhere. So like I guess it makes sense to not have it be too similar of an experience, but the bridge just doesn't look like a Star Wars bridge.
But that's the thing. But again, it goes back to the idea of like, if you're charging $6,000 a night to recreate being in Star Wars, I want to recreate what Star Wars is. Like, in all honesty, if they wanted this thing to be like huge, they would have made an X-Wing experience. Make an X-Wing experience exclusive to the hotel.
Yeah. I mean, literally.
And make it mind-blowing.
Listen, I was thinking about this. It writes itself. It's amazing. These people can't come up with these things. Like, literally, all you need is like motion simulators with screens similar to the Falcon cockpit that they know how to make this stuff. Line up like 20 of those so people at the hotel can use them and have it sort of integrated in their like sort of wristband thing. So it's like part of your little story. Like, that's what people want to do. They show this game in the cockpit where they're like targeting little TIE fighters outside, and it looks like the Star Wars Trilogy arcade from 1997, like these crappy little explosions on the TIE fighters that just do not look real by any stretch of the imagination. And it's like how they can set that up with screens where it doesn't look like you're just looking at a display right in front of you is beyond me. But the effects in general looked a lot worse than even what they have on the Smuggler's Run ride.
Oh God, that's the like peculiar thing about this. Like, you're right. Like, it's the idea of you need to do something that's very specific, that's Star Wars-y. But I think what they should have done was, do you remember I felt say Galaxy's Edge. Do you remember Disney Quest, the thing they had at Downtown Disney, and they demolished it a couple of years ago?
Can't say I'm familiar with that. No.
Okay. Joe, do you remember that at all?
No, I do not.
Okay. For those who don't know what Disney Quest was, this was a 90s Michael Eisner era project where it was essentially like Disney trying to do its own like, version of, like Dave and Buster's, so to speak, but like not for adults. Basically, it was supposed to be this big thing that was going to be in like multiple cities, but it had two locations. One was in Chicago, that closed within a couple of years, but the one in Orlando, downtown Disney, now Disney Springs, it was like, I want to say 4 to 5 stories. Like, it's like, in all honesty, like just Google Disney Quest building. It was this big square boxy building, but it essentially had different like, video. I don't want to say video games, but just like different like mini attractions. Like it was all like around, like they had like a little mini Pirates of the Caribbean. They had like a mini like roller coaster simulator. That's the sort of thing they should have done with this. Like, essentially take that concept of having a building that had multiple like mini experiences in it, but make it exclusively Star Wars stuff.
Oh, and I mean, not only that, but like there's some reason why I'm wrong. There has to be, because there's too many highly paid people involved in these things. But like even the lightsaber training thing, like at 5 years ago, I played a VR game that was a more compelling lightsaber experience than what they're showing there. Wherein if you actually had a VR headset, you see things that actually look like lasers from Star Wars that you're blocking with a lightsaber, and it's not like clearly a laser pointer because that's all you can do in practicality. But even so, like, we should have cutting edge experiences here. So like if you look at augmented reality products like the Magic Leap, for example, I don't know if any of you have ever tried that, but it's like it's 3D augmented reality, right? So they could use something like that, give you a little headset that looks like Luke's training remote helmet in A New Hope, and then that can literally overlay a 3D lightsaber blade onto a static hilt that they could give you, and then it could look like there's actual lasers coming at you in the room in 3D using literally off the shelf technology that exists. And instead they have this weird thing shooting out blue lasers in every direction. It's just, you can imagine an experience that's so much better that you could put together with commercial products for like $7,000.
But that's the thing that's so inexplicable about this. It like this just like that's the problem. Like this is okay. I'm gonna dial that back. It makes you ask the question: is this here to? Did they design this thing because they had a really cool concept in mind, or we own the intellectual property, and we're going to sit there to slap a label on this half-baked hotel, like slightly better than normal hotel, and it will make money regardless of how much effort we put into this.
But like, I really like, this is coming from somebody who genuinely thinks there's a lot of impressive stuff at Galaxy's Edge. It literally looks like they put the weekend team on this thing, and it costs so much more. Like
it probably, because I think it's the idea that, like, Chris, think about it though. They know it's going to make money regardless of how much money they put into this. So if you're guaranteed to make boffo dollars, and if you put in $1 or $10,000, it's going to make the same amount of money regardless, why are you going to go the extra effort?
Because it's not part of the plan to try and hide your launch video.
No, but I think they did that not because I think they realized they were losing the PR battle. I don't think this thing hurt any reserve. I don't think outside of I don't think you could fill a phone booth with the amount of people who already signed up for this that canceled after watching this video. You're either on, think about it. If you've got $6,000 to spend on this for 36 hours of entertainment, quote unquote, there's nothing that's going to turn you off from this. Outside of them closing it down, there's nothing that's going to deter you from wanting to go there.
I don't know. Some of my Facebook circles have some Star Wars fans of considerable means in them, and everybody seems to be making fun of this. And I feel like there's a difference between making fun of it and then canceling a reservation. Yeah, if you already have one, maybe. If you were already planning on going to the park at that specific time, maybe. But
it's one of those things where Chris, you convinced me. And this was like a couple of months ago. We were talking about Galaxy's Edge. And I'm like, why would any Star Wars purist ever want to go to Galaxy's Edge? And you're like, life-size Millennium Falcon. And I'm like, yeah, but it's Force Awakens. You're like, it doesn't matter. Life-size Millennium Falcon. And that's what it is. It's that notion of, as long as it has the logo on it, and you are of somebody of means, you're just gonna hand the money over.
No, and listen, I don't think that's comparable at all. I mean,
no?
I would probably, I don't know, like the cost of getting into Galaxy's Edge is almost worth it just to like stand around that Millennium Falcon and look at it for an hour. To me, like, that is not a Force Awakens Millennium Falcon. That is, you can't even see the radar dish from your perspective most of the time, probably. Like, that's so different. That is like that is the purest essence of like good Star Wars, the exterior of the Millennium Falcon. This is nothing to do with that. This is nonsense.
Oh no, I but that's my thing though, is that like the Millennium Falcon is just essentially the Star Wars logo that gets you to basically swipe your credit card.
Maybe that's, I don't know. That's not how I'm looking at it. I look at that as almost being able to, like, as close as you're going to get, probably better looking than visiting an actual set where they have a full scale Millennium Falcon. But that is an experience. That is waking up next to the giraffe.
Okay, this might just come down to a matter of like individual preference then, because like to me, Star Wars is not about standing next to a oh god, what would you even call that? It's not a prop, a theme park.
It's a set, basically.
It's not. No, what would you even call that? Joe, help me out here. What would you call, in factual terms, the Millennium Falcon at Galaxy's Edge? Like, what would you even call that? Like, if you had to define that, like, what is that? It's not a prop.
It's an attraction.
But it's not an attraction. It's just sitting there. Like, it's essentially a marquee for the simulator ride.
But it's still an attraction. People are going to go there for the price of admission just for that.
But like,
listen, just scale wise and presentation wise, it's probably the most accurate Millennium Falcon that's like ever existed in a film.
It better be.
No, but I'm saying like they built some for the sequel trilogy, but there's always compromises here or there, you know, like this is probably the best look you could ever get at it. I'm sure it's crazy. I haven't got down there yet. The last time I was at Disney was while that was under construction. So, but like, I'm thinking about fitting it in the week before Celebration, but that'd be a pretty extravagant trip, but I'm working on it. I think that's what I'm going to do.
It's just that notion of like Star Wars to me is not standing next to something that was built 6 years or 3 years ago. Like that's, like I said, that and maybe it's, again, it goes back to a matter of personal taste, but I guess there's nothing in Galaxy's Edge that makes me want to go there. The only reason why I would ever want to go to Galaxy's Edge is because I want like the Cal Kestis baseball bat lightsaber, which they still haven't like unveiled, even though they promised they'd have it ready by fall. Like that's the thing. It's like to this, like I know, like, and just to give him a nice shout out, friend of the podcast, Pork Knight Mika, has like he went to Galaxy's Edge. He's been like, oh god, one of the OG. Oh god, he was a Star Wars Junk Podcast fan, and like he did a phenomenal write up in the Facebook group. And like he did a good job describing it, but like there was nothing that made me even interested to go to that. Like to this day, like I'm still like, I just don't care. Like Rise of the Resistance, like it's neat looking, don't care. Smuggler's Run, like, and he says this in his write-up, he's like, if you're not the pilot, you're gonna hate that ride. You are going to hate that ride because it's going to frustrate you because you just sit there as you watch some moron who cannot use up and down on a lever.
It's actually beyond my comprehension that walking up to a full scale Millennium Falcon does not interest you. I just can't humor that.
Because the Millennium Falcon isn't real. Like that's the thing. Like Star Wars is about like immersion into that world.
Exactly.
But being in Central Florida with a Millennium Falcon, like giant, like, oh god, what was it, fiberglass thingy, is not what Star Wars is to me.
It is the closest immersion you're gonna get. Like there's a set built all around it. Like
for a planet that doesn't matter. Like if this was Tatooine, like if this was this, like this is where nostalgia matters. If this was like, oh god, was it the Bay 94?
You know, okay, like I see where you're going with this, but what you're missing is that the Docking Bay 94 set, all of the work is the Millennium Falcon in that set. You understand that, right? The rest is poorly made tan colored walls. Like the Millennium Falcon is the high octane juice, man. Like I don't know what you're talking about. That's where all the interest is.
But think about it, though, like you have that moment where you have like a Chewie, Obi-Wan, and Luke, and they come in with the droids come through like wherever that little threshold is. Like, I don't know. And then like all that moment where you have Han doing something under the ship and then the stormtroopers like coming out of that same like entrance area. Like, I don't know. There's just something weird. Again, to me, the hotel thing is an extension of Galaxy's Edge, and just I don't get the appeal. As a Star Wars fan who's done more than their fair share of swiping their credit card, it's a point where I'm just like, I'm indifferent toward it. Like, if people enjoy it, that's fine, but I don't get the appeal of it. Like, it's something that I just can't get.
I think this is the best way to sort of boil down the difference between Galaxy's Edge and this preposterous Star Cruiser hotel experience. Like, I remember in it must have been a launch promo video for the actual park experience. They got Doug Chang in there. They're talking about how we set it up. We set up the layout of this part of the park so that when you come around this corner, it's just like the shot where you first see the Falcon in A New Hope. Like, we set it up so you're coming in at that angle and you're going to see it and you're not going to believe that it's in front of you. Just the idea that they thought about that shot and that angle, whether you think that's just marketing fluff or not, there's more craft in the idea of that than anything that's in the Star Cruiser video. Like, it's times 100 more interesting. The two people they have in the Star Cruiser video don't seem like they've ever seen Star Wars before.
Well, I think it's fair to say that, like, if you had to poll the Imagineers who worked on not just I love that adjective, Chris. What a fantastic, accurate adjective, preposterous hotel. I would be shocked if you somehow got beyond the single digits of people who genuinely love Star Wars and weren't just doing this for a way to advance their career or just to say they worked on this. No, you're right. I remember that PR tagline of like Galaxy's Edge, like, oh, like you turn the corner and it's the same angle of how you're first introduced to the Falcon. I remember that.
It proves that they've seen Star Wars. I'll tell you that.
It proves somebody involved has seen Star Wars, not everybody. I just, again, I'm not arguing they haven't put thought into this. It just seems like they picked and choose when they were thinking about this.
But it's like, but even look at the cantina. Like, I won't be surprised if we find out that the cantina they show in this promo video is not they're not the real Star Cruiser cantina, because it literally looks like if you were going to make a Saturday Night Live sketch cantina set over the weekend, that's what it looks like. It's just like blue and red and yellow, and like there's no real IG-88 heads behind the bar or anything. And it's like it looks really small and not very impressive. And like even the one at Galaxy's Edge looks like it's part of a movie by comparison. This looks like they literally just made it up right before the video. It looks crazy. Well,
yeah, like I said, I agree with you, because that was like that part with the Star Wars pop singer, their words, not mine, feels like something from the Star Wars holiday special. It feels like something with like a cardboard like walls. I agree. I could see that being a set, because obviously they're not going to do a mock cantina if they haven't built the one yet at the hotel.
Well, not only that, but when he walks into that room, he goes into like a white abyss, as if they haven't even finished the hallway that he's walking through to get into that room. Like, it's clearly not the same. It's like the door he goes through is not where he comes out. Like, there's not subtle.
Well, yeah, it's a set. It's yes, I think we're both getting to the same point. It's a set. It's not a physical. It's not an actual bar. It's a set.
Although I'll tell you what I believe is a real part of this is when they're right before he sort of veers off. His name is completely escaping me. My apologies. But right before he sort of stops, he gets bored of what she's saying and stops listening to her and veers off. You see this really sort of dimly lit long white hallway that has what appears to be like red exit signs in the background.
Yes, and they're blurred out.
And it just looks dimly lit and very industrial, and like that I believe is a real part of it, because like if you were designing a set, you'd never make it look like that. But
well, may I also say that whoever lit this promo does not know how to light things?
I don't think they did. I think the idea is that you see these sort of long tube track lightings along the right hand corners of the top of their wall, and I think the idea with that is like you'll get passable selfie lighting throughout the whole place. But I don't think they brought in anything, because even when you have the Imagineer lady in the bridge, like there's no eye light at all. She has these weird shadows all over the place. I don't think they lit anything, because it looks like
that's the problem. Somebody didn't know how to light this properly, is because they didn't light it. They just used the natural light of the location to do the heavy lifting, which it's not intended to do for a promotional video.
Yep, it's pretty bad.
Yeah,
they took it down.
Well, like I said, everything about this, just like I said, as a piece of marketing, I find it fascinating. Anybody who's been a listener to this podcast for years now knows that angle of Star Wars is the one I cannot figure out. The fact that they still cannot sell basically hotcakes is astounding to me. But I think it's the idea, like, this is my thing, Chris. If you had to, because I think I've read that this thing's booked from like when it opens in March to like September. If you had to look at the breakdown of who is signing up for this, what do you think is the first priority of these people? Are they Star Wars fans or are they just theme park goers?
Well, it's got to be theme park goers because like all the Star Wars fans seem to be making fun of it at the moment. Like basically all of them. Like I've almost never seen something so universally laughed at that Disney has put out. Like, you know, like I'm a little bit in column A where I have like your traditional sort of old guy Star Wars collector group. And then I see the yes men who just like everything Disney does. And everybody thinks this is a little weird. Like even the song is not, the song literally sounds like something out of a Disney animated film. It's like, it's not Star Wars in any way. It shouldn't even be English if we are going based on songs that have showed up in universe in Star Wars, even in the Disney era films.
Well, that's the thing, because if you like when I was watching that sequence, I couldn't help but think back to the moment in Solo where they go into Dryden Voss's like yacht ship, and you have like, oh god, the woman with the weird like oh god,
she got like a Mike built, Mike built into her face,
with,
and like
the Art Deco, like the
Yeah.
Art Deco like Mike built into her face, and you have the little like, oh god, head in the jar that's like singing like his lounge dance.
Like if that's
singer.
Like if that's a 6 out of 10, like this is a 0.3. Like it's just like what, like I mean, maybe they think something like that is far too strange to like throw at Joe Hotel attendee. Like that's the thing. Like I don't know much about the parks, right? Like I don't know how this cost wise compares to like what's the next best hotel inside the park cost wise.
Well, like I said, as I've said numerous times, like I grew up at those theme parks when I was a kid. I've never stayed at a Disney hotel, but I've been in numerous of them. There was always a thing with my brother. My brother always liked just like walking through the hotels when we were there. So like, again, I've been to the Polynesian countless times, the Grand Floridian, Contemporary, more your Magic Kingdom theme parks, really. Magic Kingdom resorts, not any of the other ones. But there's a universal theme to all these, like the Polynesian, the Grand Floridian. Like there's a very similar energy just from how they're the layout, the staff, how are things done, and that's not present here at all. Like there's almost this level of just like, oh god, like all the hotels, even though they're expensive, have this artificial warmth to them. They're very cozy. And I could be wrong until I'm actually physically in this thing. It's not fair to judge it as such, but it feels almost unnaturally sterile for a place that people are supposed to be sleeping in, which is antithetical to what Disney, the whole point of Disney is. Disney is supposed to be, again, warm and cozy. You know,
space is cold, Zach. You come from a warm planet.
Oh God. But yeah, like that's the thing. I don't know. Like my understanding of Disney theme parks is probably antiquated by today's standards. Because again, I grew up with those theme parks in the early 2000s, we are well beyond that now. But all those resorts are still there. So it's not completely something to be dismissed. And this is, again, I get it. It's not supposed to be a hotel, exclusively a hotel. But, and I just want to touch upon that moment that you mentioned with the, it's not in this video, but it's another promotional piece where we have the Imagineer with the lightsaber experience. And it's so, think about it. It's supposed to be you like playing with not a probe droid, but something similar where like you're supposed to be doing what Luke did with the training thing and kind of like reflect the laser shots off the lightsaber blade. And the guy doing it looks bored out of his mind. If the guy who's doing a demonstration for promotional reasons looks bored, Why on earth would anybody like this?
Yeah, like this. Well, this it really kills me. Like I was saying earlier, like the technology exists to make this look amazing from a first person perspective, and this is like they're not even trying here. Like literally, like some sort of 3D augmented reality would have been the way to go, because you could literally see, you could have a real nice looking hilt. You could literally see a lightsaber blade ignite before your eyes in 3D, and you could have a floating, flying 3D training remote shooting 3D lasers at you with, I'm telling you, consumer technology that currently exists. So they can definitely afford 20 of them for that hotel. So it's just like there are guys making unlicensed games that are exactly a lightsaber training simulator that these have existed 5 years ago, and they're much more engaging than what we're seeing here.
But again, it begs that question. What is the point of this thing? Is it there to emulate the Star Wars experience, or is it a way to fleece people out of their money, giving them a half-baked Star Wars experience?
It's definitely the latter. I'm just of the firm belief that the park experience of Galaxy's Edge is clearly superior in every way, shape, and form to what they have going on in this hotel.
Well, sure, I'm not arguing that, but I still think again, keep in mind, Galaxy's Edge was designed because Disney got threatened by the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at Universal. And I don't care what you say. Again, as a Star Wars fan, Galaxy's Edge does not hold like a candle to what the Wizarding World is for Harry Potter fans. There's a reason why
it's quite specifically Bob Iger's fault, because there's Disney released interview footage of the Imagineers talking about designing Galaxy's Edge, and they're like, well, what if we do Tatooine or this or that? And then I'm quite certain they say Bob Iger said this is great, but it needs to be something from our era of films for us to even consider this undertaking. So it's quite directly exactly his fault.
Well, no, Bob Iger's the villain. I get to any Star Wars fan that's angry about what's happened over the last decade. 9/10 of the reasons why you're frustrated come from Bob Iger.
Well, but I'm telling you, like, I'd rather have Batuu than be forced to be reminded of Maz Kanata every time I went to Disneyland.
Oh no, well, okay. Well, yes, like I'm not going to argue that, but it's the idea that, like, again, Galaxy's Edge should never have been based off the sequel trilogy. I don't care how just lodged up their own butt talks that they were at the time. No, like, well, it should have always been Tatooine.
Yeah, I mean, well, the groundwork for that had to start so early that, we're talking about like pre-Solo, pre-Last Jedi cultural reception. So like the gears were moving early on that when people were still in the sort of honeymoon period of Disney Star Wars. So they were probably optimistic about it.
But this is the thing though, it's like, think about it. Like the sequel trilogy is so beholden to nostalgia. Yet we do, outside of the last 2 minutes of The Rise of Skywalker, we spend no time on Tatooine. The Mandalorian has spent more time on Tatooine than the sequel trilogy did.
Yeah, but you spend plenty of time on multiple Tatooine facsimiles, though.
But that's the thing that's so baffling, is that, like, if you're going to be like, okay, like we're Disney, we are the gold standard when it comes to theme parks, and if we're going to do Star Wars theme park stuff, we have to do Tatooine. Then why not make Tatooine a bigger focal point of the sequel trilogy? So you have that natural just overlay where it's like that Venn diagram image of like, okay, they're almost on top of each other.
I think like I think it's literally just like, it's a couple things, but partially it's just like JJ being an insane person, because obviously Favreau and Filoni like know that things should take place on Tatooine for the amusement of fans. So it's just like, I don't know where that mandate came from, like if there even was one, to not use these same planets but make up new ones that are virtually identical. It's almost, it's funny looking back on it, how like The Force Awakens has like a desert, snow, and forest planet within an hour. It's like, do you like this? We've heard you like this sort of thing. Would you like some more of this sort of thing?
You're right. No, like clearly, because like again, that's the big thing from outside of the Last Jedi. Pretty much, that's even what it is with the Rise of Skywalker. It's like, oh, the Death Star remains. Oh, they're on Endor. No, they're on Kef Burr. Well, what the hell is a Kef Burr? Oh, it's another moon in the Endor system. Well, why couldn't be Endor? Kef Burr. It's like again, you're just making decisions just to make them slightly different. It's the thing with the stormtroopers. It's like, well, it's a stormtrooper, but it's a slightly different stormtrooper. And it's like, well, if you're going to do stormtroopers, just make them look like stormtroopers then. No, these are different stormtroopers, but they look the same. Well, and clearly that had to be an edict or a mandate.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. JJ is not that creative. He's not that creative. And neither is Lawrence Kasdan. And neither is, we know that for certain.
Yeah, it's a rabbit hole to like sort of go down, like, because I mean, like, obviously, like, and we've talked about this numerous times, but there's like, it's so, to me as like as an audience member, it's just so strange and jarring that there's just like new stormtroopers in episode 7 if you're sort of watching these films in order. So it's got like, you know, it's somebody said that it has to be a fresh coat of paint at some point in the process. They're just slightly worse looking stormtroopers. It's like you know, it's amazing that you could some guy in his garage in the UK basically perfected the stormtrooper design over the weekend, and they just haven't done better since. It's really a shame.
It is. No, like I said, but like, and this is something else I just want to briefly mention, is that like you do get those like occasionally random glimpses of creativity, because this was a couple of weeks ago that there's some new Star Wars reference book that's out, and we finally got like our first like clear look at like Rise of Skywalker Palpatine and the Sentinel guards that we see at the end of the Rise of Skywalker on Exegol. And not to say those ideas are perfect, but it's like, oh, it's at least a different version of like, it's a slightly different stormtrooper, like mixed with a royal guard. And it's like, why not do more things like that? Where like, if you are going to like play with the designs, but also keep that like level of nostalgia, do that where clearly it's like in that time frame. And it's just a minor tweak. There's a difference between refreshing something and then just kind of like slightly tweaking it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they've learned their lesson, and obviously a lot of the media we're going to see in the near future is original trilogy adjacent, like Mandalorian, the Boba Fett show, the Obi-Wan show, Rangers of the New Republic. Oh wait, that's canceled.
Rogue Squadron.
Yeah. Oh wait, that's canceled. But you know, they
Benioff and Weiss movies.
And isn't it so charming that like I saw this interview with Ewan McDonald, where he talks about like being on set and seeing stormtroopers, and he's like, wait a minute, did they have those when I was playing Obi-Wan before? I can't remember. And it's just so innocent to see the fact that he literally has no clue what's going on canonically in Star Wars, because he like wasn't quite sure if he'd seen stormtroopers before when he was on set. And it's like they know that that era is like really what gets the fans excited. So I think we're going to see a lot of that. And you don't, you know, like there's that sort of original trilogy era of the story lasts for like 20 years. So you don't really need to go outside of it if you're doing these sort of side stories that take place concurrently with the main films. So it's hopefully they've sort of learned their lesson on that. And if you look at what they're promoting lately, they probably have, because you don't see a whole lot of sequel trilogy anything.
No, sequel trilogy is for all intents and purposes over now. But you could say the same thing for the most part, like in 2006 and 2007 for the prequels.
Well, I mean,
I'm not counting Clone Wars. I'm not counting, because that was part of a whole new like launch of something else.
So you're implying that like you don't think the clones and stuff were like super popular in the early 2000s?
No, what I think is, no, I don't think so at all. Like, good Lord. Like, I'm not saying it like they didn't have their fans. I'm not arguing that at all. But I think we are in that same, think about it, Chris. Like, you remember being like a Star Wars fan and collector in 2006 and 2007. The prequels were a dirty word. Like, if somebody came up to you in 2006 or 2007 and said, what's your favorite Star Wars movie? If you didn't say Empire, someone would have a gun to the back of your head.
Yeah, I mean, it's
still... now you talk to people about their favorite Star Wars movie, and usually the go-to answer now is Revenge of the Sith.
I don't know about that. I've heard
not in the circles you run in, Chris.
I've surprisingly heard episode 1 as the answer to that question from very interesting people twice in the last week. That surprised me quite a bit. Like old guys. Yeah.
Well, sure. And and I think that's where we are. Like, that's where we're at. Like, not to make this into a weird, like, defense of the sequel trilogy, like, argument, but I think that's where we are now in Star Wars culture. Whereas, like the sequel trilogy has to now kind of just sit and gel. Like, we have to leave that alone for a few years. And like I said, like, wait until those kids that grew up with the sequel trilogy are like the age I'm at now, and see the appreciation though. So like I said, the sequel trilogy is going to be appreciated the same way the prequels were. Like, I remember this was years ago. Like, when we had my friend Josh on from Uncovering Unexplained Mysteries, he's like, I remember, like, after the prequels came out, like 5 years afterwards, it was like, oh, the prequels suck, but Revenge of the Sith is okay. And then, like, fast forward, like, to like the late 10s, and now it's like, yeah, the prequels are pretty good, but Revenge of the Sith is great. And that's what I think is going to happen with the sequel trilogy, for better or worse. Not saying that it's deserved or it should be condemned, but I think we're going to get to that point. Like, in the next 10 years, it'll start.
Completely disagree, and we should set some dates and put some money on it. It's just like, it's just so disconnected from the rest of the saga that I just don't see it being viewed that way.
And couldn't the prequel trilogy be said the same thing in 2007?
I don't think so. I mean, literally have, if you look at the characters that are in play at the end of episode 3, basically all of them are in the original trilogy. Like, it's just one into the other.
I mean, on a cultural, like, level, in the sense of like where these films are kind of left, like, as a taste in everybody's collective mouths in the pop culture.
I think that the best thing that ever happened to the prequels is the sequels.
Well, yeah, any new thing's gonna make the old thing look better.
I mean, is that really? I mean, like, that's objectively true, but like, let's think about that for a moment. that's horrifying and terrible. And why can't people figure out anything? As there's definitely some reason that we're wrong, but like, I have never heard a compelling explanation as to why that is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you'd think it'd be easy to learn from what worked and what didn't about these things.
Well, I also think hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah, but they're making that stuff now, looking back at how previous things were handled. That's what I'm talking about.
But how do you know how things are going to resonate? It's because something is popular in the moment doesn't mean it's going to sit there, like, have any sort of meaningful impact, like, later down the line. Like, look at Spider-Man. Like, 7 years ago, we had Jamie Foxx Electro that was literally, like, laughed off the face of the earth. And now he's being highlighted with the likes of Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina as like, wow, look, we're getting back. And I
mean, he's not, though. Like, literally, those movies are terrible. Like, the Andrew Garfield movies are not good. Like, sorry, everyone who likes them. And the problem is, like, the difference with the prequels and the sequel trilogy is, like, they're like, there's nothing interesting about the story in the sequel trilogy, like, hot take, and it's created by, like, a marketing company and a focus group, and there's weird non-existent character motivations, so it's not going to culturally resonate in the same way because it wasn't made by, like, an insane person.
Is there anything that resonates with the culture in Attack of the Clones? Other than it has the word Star Wars in the title.
I listen, man. When Obi-Wan when Obi-Wan walks out on that balcony and sees the clone army with the Trade Federation music, there's more feels in that teaspoon than, like, a lot of the sequel trilogy. Like, there's some moments in there, and it's just like. And
you're telling me that it's hard to sit there and allow the sequel to judge the sequel trilogy because it technically ended less than 2 years ago. But you're telling me in The Force Awakens, we're not going to sit there and look back at any of these moments. Like I said, I still think The Last Jedi will eventually be appreciated in the same level that Empire and Revenge of the Sith were eventually. Like, without a doubt, The Last Jedi will be seen as the bright moment in the sequel trilogy.
I think the problem's always going to be that the sequel trilogy is actually episodes 10, 11, and 12. And they're never going to be able to do anything about that. And it's a bad 10, 11, and 12, but it's 10, 11, and 12.
Stop it. I don't think so. Like I said, I can't. I think I disagree because you have Palpatine. If episode 9 was the Colin Madman Trevorrow version where you have Tor Valum and you have Kylo Ren like having like a mask like melded to his face, then yes.
Yeah, but you don't actually have Palpatine though. You have a sleepy, tired, stressed out J.J. Abrams being like, "What do these nerds want me to do? Let's have Poe Dameron say somehow Palpatine exists, and then we'll have Palpatine."
That's great. I love it. I love that movie so much. Somehow Palpatine has returned.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess the nice thing about this whole Starcruiser thing is that theoretically, in this canonical existence of Galaxy's Edge, Palpatine's out there somewhere pulling the strings. He hasn't been killed for the second or third time yet. So like, that's fun. I mean, that's what they really need. Like you need to accidentally peep a hologram of Palpatine talking to his boys, like how Boba Fett gets spied on in the holiday special. Like you need to like go in a room in the Starcruiser and easily stumble upon an encrypted transmission of Palpatine.
Well, that's where like I truly wish when they did Rise of the Resistance that they like had the Rise of Skywalker Kylo Ren with the red like oh god, what you call it, like super glue. That's where I wish they would have had that. Because like, wouldn't that have been a great... Chris, did you ever watch any of the ride footage from Rise of the Resistance?
I've avoided ride footage of both rides. Yeah.
Okay. There's a Kylo Ren animatronic at least twice in that ride. And one of the moments, I don't think it's giving anything away, but there's also a Dom Hall Gleason animatronic, which might be the only reason why I ever want to go to Galaxy's Edge, to think that there's a General Hux animatronic that probably cost the company in the ballpark of like $300,000.
Amazing.
Okay, Chris, I want you to know my equivalent of seeing the 1-to-1 scale Millennium Falcon is seeing the 1-to-1 General Hux animatronic. That is my version.
I mean, I would pay worth every cent if he tells you that he is the spy, but it takes place before that.
But that's the point I'm getting at. Like, if there was a moment in this where you would see like Kylo Ren talking to the Emperor, a la Vader in Empire, that would be a cool moment. Like, wouldn't that be great that like you're on this ride, like, and you like interrupt? Because there's a couple of moments in Rise of the Resistance where you interrupt Kylo Ren doing his thing and he comes after you. Wouldn't it be great if there was a moment where like you open a door and you see Kylo Ren like there like talking to the Emperor as a hologram and like it quickly like blinks out? I'm like, wouldn't that be neat?
That'd be good. I'm almost not sure. You know what would have been great is if when they had made episode 7 and 8, they knew they were going to bring back Palpatine. They might have been able to include something like that preemptively, but they made up their mind at the last possible second that they were going to include Palpatine.
Star Wars Aftermath Trilogy, Empire's End. Published February of 2017.
And guess who?
Palpatine's return. And
guess who didn't know anything about it? J.J. Abrams.
Well, 100%, but it was there. I still think everybody keeps saying this. Like I said, this is the thing. Like, I feel like I will die on this hill forever. It's like my version of Star Wars Groundhog Day. Is that Lucasfilm? I think always intended on Palpatine coming back. I think about it. Ruin Johnson was writing the script for episode 8 in like, oh god, February of like 2015. They knew they were killing Snoke like that early. And there had to be another bad guy, but it was all the new bad guy was always going to be a combination of Kylo Ren and some like master, like puppet master.
Yeah, but we have the Trevorrow script. Like, we know that they weren't planning on bringing back Palpatine until
But it was going to be, but that's the thing though. The master like string puller was going to be Tor Valum. And I think what happened was that, like, you got to give Kathleen credit where credit is due. She threw Trevorrow off, which was probably the best decision she ever made. And was like, and I think this is where you got to give whoever it is, whether it be J.J. Abrams, Chris Terrio, Bob Iger, Kathleen Kennedy, whoever made the final decision, was that, like, if we're going to have the puppet master, how can it be anyone but Palpatine? How? Like, that's the thing about Star. That's why I've never had a problem with The Rise of Skywalker. Like, when they announced Palpatine was coming back, it was like, it makes 100% sense.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's interesting.
There's only one master, evil puppet master, and it's Palpatine. It can never be anybody but him, because Palpatine's been there all along, like in the background, just doing his everything is proceeding exactly as I have foreseen it. And it's like, you can't, and that's why, like, Snoke's death makes perfect sense.
Yeah, but like what? But like Snoke in general doesn't make sense, because Snoke
he's a false idol. That's the whole thing. He has to die because he's the false idol.
Snoke is to the Emperor that what the First Order stormtroopers are to real stormtroopers. Like, we can't have the Emperor, so let's make up a McDonald's version of him. That's what Snoke is. I don't think the plan ever was thought through to conclusion. I
think it was, because Ryan, I think about it. JJ was, like I said, I'm not going to argue that JJ clearly didn't have a plan for 3 films when he was, writing with Lawrence Kasdan, episode 7. I will never not argue that. But it's that idea that they knew the trajectory of this back in 2015, early 2015. They knew where things were going. Remember, Trevorrow was like announced as director within less than a year of Jurassic World coming out. That's the reason why he didn't do Jurassic World 2 Dinosaur Boogaloo, which was released in 2018, because like he couldn't even work on like pre-production for that movie outside of like in a producing role.
Yeah, but that's like that script that leaked is a very different film.
But that's one script amongst many. Like there's 2 Trevorrow scripts out there.
Yeah, but it's a version they were working on before JJ that did not include the Emperor. That's all.
But it had the puppet master in it, and it was going to be Tor Valum.
I mean, that I almost prefer that, but no. Yeah,
Tor Valum. Think about it, Tor Valum.
I mean, it really should be Plagueis coming back like Voldemort.
Nobody knows what that is. That's but that's
the problem is the people say that, but he's named in the movie. Like, what more do you want?
But that
I agree with Chris. I'm sorry.
All right.
But Plagueis would have been the best one for it.
Who cares about? Okay, if you're sitting for episode 9. And you want to see the end of the Skywalker saga, quote unquote, again, it's the idea of like, do you want to see Darth Plagueis or do you want to see Ian McDiarmid back?
Plagueis.
Oh, please get out of here. Get out of here.
I got to listen.
I'm picking you up right now, and I'm throwing you down the Death Star chasm. I'm throwing you down it as you electrocute my mask as I'm yelling.
My guy, we got the Ian McDiarmid trilogy already, man. Like, we're good. Like, listen, great. I enjoyed every minute of it.
You're telling me you would not? You're telling me you don't enjoy Palpatine sitting on his little like stone throne, being like, what's he saying in that line for The Rise of Skywalker? He's like, don't fret, my faithful, this will be the return of the Sith, as he like puts his hands to the heavens and ignites the sky with blue lightning. I'm like, it's delightful. It would have been
better if it was Plagueis, because then it would have
we don't know anything about Plagueis.
Listen,
all you know about him is that he's a hard sleeper.
That's why it should have been him, because no one knew anything about him.
Really want the last film to explain him?
Yes, because they could have tied it in a way where they let people know early in episode 7 that like there's like it's like you know, once again, there's some reason why I'm wrong, but if you look at the original trilogy, they allude to somebody greater than Vader long time before they show him, and in episode 7 you have this weird Snoke guy. And it's like, he has no explanation. You see him right away. He's old, but he didn't exist in the previous films, even though he would have been well alive and powerful if he's this amazing right now. Like, it just doesn't fit. And, you know, you could have sowed the seeds of the legend of Plagueis and like some force growing in power out in the unknown regions in episode 7. You could have done that, but that would be too.
You really want episode 9 explaining a character that is name dropped once 3 movies.
Just
God,
because
5
no,
movies ago.
listen. Well, here, you know what I would really have wanted is the Yuuzhan Vong attacking Coruscant in the New Republic, but we're never gonna get that. But I didn't want Palpatine again. I didn't want the Empire. I didn't want a Dollarama version of the Empire to come back without explanation. You know, it's just like I just think that it needed to be something that grew past Palpatine, because the whole point of 6 movies was the defeat of Palpatine. So it's just I'm good without it, because unlike J.J. Abrams, I don't think a Star Wars film has to have a cantina and a Palpatine to be a Star Wars film, or the fans will riot.
Well, no, I agree. Like, it's not the 7, 8, 9 that I would have made. But considering that I am not the person tasked with bringing these things into reality, I am at the very least content with what we got.
But you don't want Galaxy's Edge based on it.
Well, the problem is that Batu isn't in the sequel trilogy.
Well,
Hondo Ohnaka is not in the sequel trilogy.
Neither is Tatooine. So what are you going to do?
Well, that's okay. Then, but again, it goes back to my thesis on theme park attractions. They're supposed to be steeped in nostalgia and things that we know and love, not off novel experiences. Like, everybody gets, like I said, as a lifelong Disney theme parks fan, everybody, all the stupid like theme park blogs and like Twitter people I follow are like, man, I wish we got like original attractions still. And I'm like, that's fine. Like, I love Expedition Everest. I loved Extraterrestrial Alien Encounter. Phenomenal attractions. But Walt Disney, if you go back to his plan for Disneyland, the whole point was to sit there. It was supposed to be like a symbiotic circle. The theme park promotes the movies and TV shows. Then in return, the movie and TV shows promote the theme park. It's meant to be symbiotic. So like, that's where like I would, even though I wouldn't be against like new IPs originating in the theme park, at the same time, that wasn't even Walt didn't even want that. He only created new, wholly original things to the theme park because he didn't have enough movie and TV IP to sit there completely hold the theme parks up. That's what it is. Like, it's the reason why the Wizarding World of Harry Potter paid for itself within 3 months at Universal, was because it was steeped in things people want to visit in the flesh. No Star Wars fan wakes up in the morning and says, I wonder what Doc Ondor is up to today. No one's saying, I can't wait to walk into Doc Ondor's shop of antiquities. What they do say is when they're watching Star Wars, like, man, that cantina is cool.
Right.
Like,
but you see inside one building in Mos Eisley, like, you can't really, I don't know if there's enough breadth there to like build a whole park without making it a lot more visually interesting than it actually.
But there's things you can take, but like, it goes back to like what happened, oh God, with like Star Tours, MGM. Is that like one half of it is like Endor, where you have the facade of the AT-AT walker. Then the other side is like Tatooine traders. It's the idea of like, it's a theme park. Like, you can sit there, blend things. Like, not everything has to be 110% consistent. And that's the thing. Like, Disney's a slave to these weird consistencies. Like, oh God, who is it? Emerson or Thoreau, who said like, a foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of a small mind. Is that like, you can blend things. It's a theme park. Like, we do not, like, this is something that drives me nuts about Disney now. Everything is that like, they have this weird, oh God, it's this weird mandate. Like, it used to be in Disney theme park rides for the longest time that like, oh, you're getting on the ride, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. And then something goes wrong. Now everything is, oh, we're going on this ride, but you have to like go through the process of the faux process of getting to the actual thing. Whether it be like, oh, on Rise of the Resistance, you're on Batu, but wait, you're going to be boarding a Resistance shuttle and going to like a flagship. And then with the hotel, oh, you're not going to a hotel in Star Wars land. You're boarding a shuttlecraft that's going to bring you to the ship.
But what do you mean though? Like, that's the greatest theme park rides of all time. Start out the queue in some dramatic narrative fashion. Like,
I don't mind. I have nothing against that, but sometimes you can just, the thing can be the thing at ground level, so to speak. You don't have to have a queue that is there to transport you to where the thing really is.
I think that's been like, I mean, look at some of the really good Universal ones that no longer exist, like Terminator 2 and Jaws. Like, the Terminator 2 one, you're getting like a tech demo at Cyberdyne or something.
That's fine. I have no problem with that. That's exactly what I want. I want the tech demo to be right there. It's essentially just pre-show. Like it's the idea, like everything can't just simply be the pre-show. It has to be transporting you to where the thing really is. It's that oh God, what would you call it? The illusion of, oh, this thing isn't here. It's out there. And we're going to sell you that it's out there. That's, like I said, it's that everything like even the
it's because they need spaceships, and you just can't do spaceships, Zach. Like that's the problem.
That's the thing, but not everything has to like that, but that's, I think, the false or maybe the misunderstanding of what Star Wars is that, like, yeah, is it called Star Wars? Yes, but how many interesting things happen on the actual spaceship itself? Like you were saying that, like, oh, like we're going to the hotel spaceship, and it's like you get to walk around the bridge, and it's like,
that spaceship sucks big time.
That's fine, but that's not the issue here. Is that, like, how many interesting things have happened on the bridge of a starship in Star Wars?
Okay, well, there was that one time where an A-wing crashed through the window, and that was pretty sweet. And I would say that if they would have made some effort to make this this Galaxy's Edge Hotel bridge look like a Star Destroyer bridge, even like a Sequel Trilogy Star Destroyer bridge, where they have the little pits with all the dudes working and stuff, that would have been a lot more interesting. They could have found some way to justify that canonically. It would be something that actually looks like Star Wars. That'd be a start.
To be fair, in the Rise of the Resistance ride, that is a component of it. So I'm not gonna, like, they do technically do that.
Good.
You do spend a nice portion of the queue of that ride on a Star Destroyer.
Great. That
first order.
So more evidence that the regular park experience of Galaxy Edge is amazing. And this
no, I'm not. I don't think anyone's going to argue that the queues to Rise of the Resistance in the Millennium Falcon or Smuggler's Run are lackluster. Those are, if anything, probably the highlights. Like people have said,
it's the best line you'll ever stand in.
Well, yeah. Like I'm not going to argue that, but like is it a lot of fun to like sit there like at the chess table and take pictures?
It depends if you're somebody who's done that a bunch of times already or not.
I don't. But this is the thing about like okay, goes back to, I guess, a matter of personal taste. As somebody who grew up at those theme parks again, and like were the pre-shows fun? Yes. The pre-shows were fun. Like, again, like I've said before, like one of my favorite, I only went on it once. It was Extraterrestrial Alien Encounter. And you had like Skippy, and you see Skippy like get teleported. He gets like fricasseed in the process. It's a lot of fun. I have a Skippy plush that I bought off eBay like 7 years ago for like $8. The thing about it is that like taking pictures while waiting to ride the Millennium Falcon simulator is neat, but like, it breaks the illusion, because like we're Extraterrestrial Alien Encounter, you're watching it. The immersion is you are being part of a demonstration for excess tech. And I tell anybody, if you have even a slight interest in Disney theme park stuff, go watch one of the videos of that ride. It's not even a fraction of what it was like being there, but like it's still fun and how novel it was relative to what Disney does today. But like you were immersed in it. You didn't have that illusion breaking thing where you take your cell phone out and you're taking selfies in the booth. That's the thing. Again, and maybe my issue is not even a Disney issue. It's a contemporary culture issue.
Well,
that I have.
Yeah, but I mean, I was never compelled to take a selfie in the graffiti ridden queue of the King Kong ride, for example, because it's not a iconic set with 50 years of.
But that's the thing, though, is that like. That wasn't a concern back in the day. Now, like when they're building like the queues and there's anything at the theme parks, they're not thinking about like, oh, is this going to be immersive or not? Like, well, is this going to be a good selfie spot? Like that's the sort of stuff they think about. They will think more about social media moments at these things than they will about, oh, will this be a memory resonating thing?
I mean, like you're probably right, but that's a modern culture thing.
But that's my thing, though, is that like we're letting, like, this is the thing about Disney then versus now. And this is somebody who, again, grew up with Disney in the late 90s, early 2000s, nothing like Walt Disney era of like the 60s. It's that notion of you should be letting the rides dictate the culture, not letting the culture dictate the rides. And that's what frustrates the ever living daylights out of me. is once again, we're letting the culture shape things as opposed to letting the art shape things.
Okay.
It's putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah, like you're absolutely right. The problem is when you have a queue where people will compulsively take selfies and post them bragging about where they are, it's an irresistible amount of free marketing. And if they're gonna build that to, if the lure of that free marketing is going to cause them to build an interior Millennium Falcon set, I'm going to be looking at that while all the mouth breathers are taking selfies.
I guess. I would, like I said, it goes back to what I want out of it. And like I said, it's selfish to think that my opinion's the right one. But it's the idea that, like, if you're going to make a Millennium Falcon ride, I don't care about being able to, like, sit at the chess table. I want a genuinely entertaining, faithful to the film's Millennium Falcon experience. And Smuggler's Run is not that. Being able to sit in the chair this is not what I think of the Millennium Falcon.
I mean, we've never really seen Han like very actively driving the Millennium Falcon from a directional standpoint. So I think that it's,
well, yes, you do. Empire, the chase after Hoth, like that.
I know, but what I mean is in terms of actually piloting the vehicle from a very kinetic standpoint, it's like sort of there's a yoke there, but you never really see it interacted with. And the Falcon does all kinds of dynamic stuff, but it's not like he's really playing up acting that he's like flying it in that fashion.
That's fine, but this is where, when you think about a theme park attraction, you get to do the things you didn't get to do in the movies. Like, to this day, I think it's the most inexplicable thing that we got a Millennium Falcon ride where Han Solo has no role in it.
Right. Well, but the thing is, if you're that 1 out of 6 who actually gets to pilot it, you're having a good day.
No. Have you seen how that thing, if you're piloting that thing, there's 2 pilots. One makes it go up and down, other makes it go left to right. You don't even have complete control over it. It's like, you have no idea how many videos I've watched of that ride experience.
I know, but
I lose my mind every single time
I hear you, but obviously the problem is most people are idiots, and there's going to be a 5-year-old kid who gets plopped down in that pilot seat, and they have to have a passable experience for the rest of the cabin.
I'm not even talking about that. My issue is not with the person piloting it. That's Disney.
But it's literally built so that the most incompetent person cannot ruin the day of everyone else in the cabin. That's the point.
You read some YouTube comments and come back to me. But that's neither here nor there. My thing is, if you're gonna make a Millennium Falcon ride, you know what you do? Chris, did you ever go on the Back to the Future ride at Universal?
Absolutely.
Okay. That, replace the DeLorean with the Millennium Falcon, replace Doc Brown with Harrison Ford.
So you're just a passenger watching a video, and it's like a motion control roller coaster, basically.
Basically. And that is a more faithful Millennium Falcon experience than having, oh God, what's his name? Jim Cummings do Hondo Ohnaka.
I think that's pretty much what you have, though, because it's because the cockpit is basically that Back to the Future car in terms of its range of movement, and you're basically just watching a video. But
that's the thing, though. It's like it's a simulator with a minimal amount of like interaction. And if you're going to have the interaction that dialed down, then just make it a simulator that nobody has control over.
I think that's basically what it is. They just don't want you to know that, because the actual control elements are so inconsequential, because they can't have you ruining the experience for someone who beside you sat in line for 2 hours. So
don't give anybody control. That
it's a veneer. It's a veneer.
That's fine. Then I want if it's going to be like on a scale of like involvement on 1 to 10. And this is like a 1.5, then just take away that 1.5 and give nobody no control. If you're going to have that little involvement, then just take it away. Have Han Solo be like, hey guys, Chewie and I just got the Falcon. We're at Maz Kanata's. We lost our other ship, but like we're there and we're going to help you pilot remotely. And just do it that way. Be like, Chewie's just installed this new thing into the Falcon thanks to Ray's help, because Ray, Jakku.
Yeah, the problem is they've already had Star Tours for 30 years.
That's fine. Then make it the Millennium Falcon of Star Tours. We have, God, you know how many times they've copy pasted the simulator? There's Body Wars. Everybody forgets at Epcot, Body Wars opened before Star Tours did MGM by like 3 weeks, because like MetLife had it in their contract.
Zach, literally what you're saying is So we've already got Star Tours. It's 3D.
Do Star Tours, but slightly different.
We've got Star Tours. It's 3D. We're going to take away the 3D because dummies don't like to wear 3D glasses, even though it's awesome. So we're going to take that away. And we're going to add this thin veneer of interactivity because it's been 30 years. And you're saying that too far.
Yes. I don't want that. I don't want Hondo and Naka. I want Han. If I'm going to go to, okay, imagine if you told Harry Potter fans, you're going like in the flagship ride for the Wizarding World, you're not going to be able to interact with Harry, Ron, Hermione, but instead like the main character is going to be like Remus Lupin. They would have lost their minds. They would have burned that place to the ground within the first couple months.
Yeah, but can't you remember how in Awesome Episode 7, Han Solo is dead by this point? So like how very well
they should never have done it on the sequel trilogy. Or if they would have done it, they should have done it then right before The Force Awakens. Do it on the eve of The Force Awakens.
But then they can't have Rey walking around and hanging out with everybody.
Yes, you can, because you can blend things. It's the same reason why you have a giant AT-AT walk around. Okay, if that's the case, then Star Tours should have been immediately demolished the moment Galaxy's Edge opened. If that's the case, then there's no universe where C-3PO could be piloting the Star Speeder, 1000?
It depends on the version.
And he's at the Battle of Exegol.
Yeah, but I mean,
R2D2
Star Tours is like obviously non-canonical because
you know what? Okay, but this is another one of my favorite Lucas quotes. When they were redoing Star Tours for the second go around, Star Tours: The Adventures Continue,
2011.
Yes, 2011, and like the Imagineers had like all these ideas for like redos of the ride. And they're like, oh, we have this idea in mind, this idea in mind. And like a lot of these were canon breaking. And when they eventually like pitched them to Lucas is just like, well, okay. And they're like, yeah, but Mr. Lucas, this is canon breaking. He's like, so it's fun. And like that was it. And that was it. It's the Lucas thing of like, is it fun? Yeah, then do it. Like, who cares? Like,
I think there's room in the fullness of time. By the time with your level of engagement with the park, by the time you probably get there, I think there's an opportunity that they will have advanced to that point and realized that the whole placing it on a specific day in canon is probably a bit much. I think like this is it's built to get there.
I don't, but that's the weird thing about like Rise of the Resistance, though. Rise of the Resistance as a singular thing is canon breaking because it takes place post Last Jedi. You have Rey there in her Last Jedi, like second half of the film outfit. Finn is there, and you have Kylo Ren with the helmet from The Force Awakens. And I'm just like,
so just the helmet is really the problem.
The helmet, he shouldn't have the helmet. He should either lose the helmet or he should have the red super glue helmet.
Well, it's they didn't realize that JJ was going to decide that he only had one helmet, so he had to glue it together.
If you're an Imagineer and you already have the molds for the Kylo Ren helmet, how hard is it to like have one of the people who designed this ride to just put the red accent marks on the helmet? That is the literal like I just don't get it. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, here's like, I accept that he could have had more than one. It just makes it weird that he glued it back together in episode 9.
But that's the weird thing though. It's like he doesn't have the red super glue helmet until the episode 9 gets started. Yet like the Kylo Ren we see in the ride is the Force Awakens one, because it's the one with the hood and like the shredded like the shredded like scarf.
That is a good point. That is a good point that they could easily update that, but I think like they don't want to signal that they're gonna like do stuff like that probably because why should they care though? Why should they though? JJ just like made up a bunch of weird shit over the weekend, and that's episode 9. Like, why are they changing their
Chris, just said a bad word.
Sorry.
All right.
But okay, so there's a beep there somewhere, but I mean basically like there's an attitude with Disney and Lucasfilm that they're actually slightly resentful of how bad Robot ran things. Like, this is a real thing, so they're probably just not gonna like spend money on like weird things. I love how you just said that. Like, the guy who they got involved twice in this, they don't like. There's literally there's people who have like made comments that Bad Robot like wouldn't let them in the room for a lot of things, and they were sort of in the dark about like where it was actually going story wise. Like this is
I don't
just
doubt that.
real things that have happened that people have talked about. Yeah,
I don't doubt that at all. Like I said, it's it all is what it is. Like Sequel Trilogy is there. There's no changing that. It's history now. Galaxy's Edge is easily not going to be refurbished for a decade at the very least. Probably 20 years, the absolute earliest, unless they do something with the Mandalorian.
I think but I still stand by that it's built to be able to change the era. They need to swap out like 3 static ships that are hanging out in the field and a radar dish.
Here's my question to you. Considering that we got de-aged Mark Hamill at the end of the Mandalorian season 2, how long do we go in either until it's the Book of Boba Fett or Mandalorian or Ahsoka, we get digitally de-aged Han Solo and Chewbacca?
Never going to happen.
Oh, 100% going to happen. We already got Mark Hamill.
But everything's canon now, and young Han Solo is young Harrison Ford is Alden Ehrenreich. What can you do?
No, what I'm saying is that digitally de-aged Harrison Ford would be post Return of the Jedi. So he'll fit within the continuity of the Mandalorian.
That sounds expensive to me. I don't know.
No, I'm not saying he's going to be there. I'm not saying he's going to be the new baby Yoda and like walk around with him. I'm not saying that. But I mean that like you're saying, if they're going to do an overlay for Galaxy's Edge, the next obvious Star Wars thing that you would do with that would be the Mandalorian. And there's no reason why to think about like, we already had Luke Skywalker in the Mandalorian. There's no reason why we couldn't have Han Solo and Chewbacca, especially in a post Return of the Jedi like time period.
Yeah, I guess they like, it really depends on legalities at that point, like whether they're fully.
It's called how big of a check can you cut Harrison Ford?
that's what I mean. Like how, like, are they entitled to do it now, or do they need to work out
a matter of, well, think he's still, as of right now, he's a Lucasfilm employee because of Indiana Jones 5.
Yeah, that's a whole other can of worms. Recently delayed an entire year.
Yes, I know. I'm still waiting for that film to come out in July of 2019 when they announced it 6 years ago.
You know what's very interesting? While I was doing some interview prep to talk to one Dan Madsen, former president of the official Star Wars fan club for 15 years, I looked up Star Wars Insider #1, which came out in 1994. And the opening page of that, they just had rebranded Lucasfilm Magazine Star Wars Insider. And this is 94. And on the opening opening introduction to this Star Wars Insider Magazine #1 by Dan Madsen, he talks about, there's even talk that Indiana Jones 4 is coming out soon. so you guys probably want to subscribe and you'll get all the latest on that. That was 94. 14
years later.
An official Lucasfilm publication trying to hype up Indy 4 in 94.
Chris, you want to hear some weird parallels? Think about this. That was in 1994. Crystal Skull will come out in 2008. That's 14 years later. And then 14 years after Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, we're going to get Indiana Jones 5.
Well, Indiana Jones and the DeLorean of Doom is, I think, the working title. If you've seen any leaked photos out there, but they're obviously they're obviously clearly not happy with the direction the story was taking, and much like the moment, there's just these moments where you have to wonder, do you guys not understand the concept of hubris? Do you not question yourselves whatsoever? Like, it's like the moment you had a meeting with JJ and Lucas and you said, by the way, Lucas, we're not using your ideas. And he walks out of the meeting. Like if your soul wasn't crushed at that moment, it should have been when Spielberg left Indiana Jones 5 over creative differences. It's just like, do you guys really think you can do better without them? Oh, what's that? You delayed the film a year to rewrite the story? That's what I thought. It's not that easy.
Yeah, no. These are, like I said, I will never, ever deny that J.J. Abrams is a narcissist. And there's a reason why. Think about it. Like, oh God, Rise of Skywalker has been out now for almost 2 years. And what has J.J. Abrams done in 2 years? whispers that he's casting Michael B. Jordan as Superman.
He produced a lovely UFO documentary series that just rehashed a bunch of old nonsense everyone's heard of a million times over. Real groundbreaking.
That's what I mean. But like, again, this goes back to like everything that's currently happening with Lucasfilm. Is that like it's kind of a place that like, especially for Disney era, is where like careers go to die. Like, think about it. Like, J.J. Abrams is kind of like in a weird purgatory right now. Oh God, Gareth Edwards. I haven't seen him since like the Rogue One premiere 5 years ago. Like, he's kind of like what Jimmy Hoffa at this point. I don't know what stadium he's buried under. You have Ron Howard, who kind of just at this point just floats around, does interviews occasionally.
Well, hey, no, let's not forget the Willow series.
Okay, whenever that decides to come out.
They've started promoting it.
I know.
And can I make a confession? I watched Willow for the first time this week, and very pleasantly surprised. I thought that was pretty good.
Good. I'm glad. But that's the whole point, though. Is that like really the only Star Wars filmmaker who has survived Star Wars has been Rian Johnson, and he birthed his own franchise out of it with Knives Out. Like, think about it. Rian Johnson, who is responsible for what is, the internet tells me, the most hated thing to ever exist in mankind, is somehow the only director that survived the curse of Disney Star Wars. Think about Benioff and Weiss, Patty Jenkins, Colin Trevorrow. Like we're getting his rebound is coming out this upcoming summer with Jurassic World 3, The Crimes of Dinosaur World. So that's the thing. I just don't know. Like, I think Lucasfilm is at a point where I think they're extremely difficult to work with.
Yeah, I mean,
extremely.
like there was, and as of I think today, there was a story that Patty Jenkins left another project, Mythic Cleopatra, to focus on, and the headline is to focus on Wonder Woman 3 and Rogue Squadron. When it's like, I'm still doubling down. Like, you're never seeing Rogue Squadron. I don't know why people want to trick us that we are. It's never happening.
The only thing I saw that headline too, and I saw some analysis of that story. Like you said, the Cleopatra thing she walked away from with Gal Gadot. I could, now that happened and there was such a weird like hullabaloo and pearl clutching over Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron being shelved, I think the idea of her walking away from that or her being, oh God, mothballed along with that film might have upset the powers that be on a PR level. I agree with you. I still think there's like a 75% chance that film directed by her will never see the light of day. But I could see her still being folded into another Star Wars project. Maybe as a producer. I don't know. But I think it's the same way that like Disney has never canceled the Rian Johnson trilogy. I think they like keeping these people in their back pocket.
They haven't publicly canceled it, but Rian Johnson has made some comments that sort of imply that it's on indefinite ice.
Well, that's the same thing that's Rogue Squadron just happened to. I think these people are kept on the payroll just in case they ever need them. The same thing that happened with JJ after Force Awakens. It's like, okay, like JJ's done. Like he made his movie. Like, thank you, JJ. We appreciate everything you did for us, but we're going to keep your name in the Rolodex just in case. Just in case. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think all these people sign contracts, and probably there's one like sentence somewhere that says like, we can do whatever we want, but if we ever need you, you are like we have a first look deal with you, like after your current project is completed. Even if it's not something we're currently involved with. I would imagine that like after JJ directed Knives Out, he probably had to go to Lucasfilm and be like, I'm sorry. Thank you. Rian Johnson. He said probably had to go to them and be like, okay, like, are we doing this now? Is this going to be my next project? And he probably spent like a month, like working with them, just like, not like, oh God, intensively, but something along the lines of like, okay, like kicking the tires on it. And they probably said, no, we're going to hold off on this for now. He said, okay, can I start working on my next project? Whatever that may be. I said, okay. I think what it is, it's probably a quasi version of a first look deal in that like, we get you for your next project unless we decide to go in a different direction for the time being. And I think that's what it is. And I think they probably signed Patty Jenkins to a similar deal in that, like, okay, we want to make Rogue Squadron. And there's probably some clause in the contract that says, like, after a year, if this thing isn't like in pre-production or in production, I'm allowed to go work on another project. And I think that's what happened with Patty Jenkins. So I think Patty Jenkins always wanted to do Wonder Woman 3 first before Rogue Squadron. And I think her walking away or segueing into an exclusive producer deal for Cleopatra means she's probably going to work now 100% on Wonder Woman. And then once that's done, she'll go back to Disney and be like, okay, are we going to work on this now? Like I said, I don't think Patty Jenkins or Rian Johnson have been dismissed. I think they're just not the focal point right now.
Well,
I think
Rian Johnson didn't get a lovely promo video of himself getting an X-Wing uniform. So maybe they're slightly more embarrassed about canceling a project where they made a promo video like that. They're going to move hundreds of millions of dollars to save themselves from the embarrassment of that video turning out to be a canceled project.
Yeah. No, like I said, I think Lucasfilm has a lot of problems. I think they don't have any. I think it's funny. Marvel, I think, is currently in the same is about to be in the same throes that Lucasfilm is. Like, Marvel for a decade had Trajectory, and it was like Infinity Gauntlet. Now Marvel's thing is like, well, multiverse? ? And I think that's, like I said, I think they're trying to figure out what their new goal is. Star Wars in 2012 had a goal. It was called Sequel Trilogy. And then now the Sequel Trilogy is over. It's like, well, what do we do now? Like, do we do another trilogy? Do we do one-off films? Clearly the plan was like, it's supposed to be every other year of trilogy film, spin-off, trilogy film, spin-off, trilogy film. And then Solo pretty much blew that up. And now Star Wars has become exclusively a streaming service property for the foreseeable future, which it's different. It's not what I would do, but it's different.
Well, you know, they've in the last 9 years, they've probably created 5 times the amount of Star Wars content that there was before that, something on that order.
Sure.
If you count the TV shows,
sure, you can't argue that they haven't worked hard. Like there is oh God, how many millions of man hours have been poured into this stuff? So no, I'm like I said,
yeah. Well,
they're human. I'm not going to say that they don't deserve some forgiveness. It's just, it feels like there are some easily avoidable hurdles that they walk into repeatedly just because, like you say, it's the hubris. It's that we're Disney, we're Lucasfilm, we know what's best. And it's like, well, yeah, you are Lucasfilm and Disney, but like maybe sometimes just take a step back and look at your options before you just kind of like run headfirst into something.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's an important thing to point out. You know, there's a lot of Star Wars fans who forget that these new properties are made by humans, and as such, you can evaluate them with a critical lens because they are made by people who sometimes have great ideas and sometimes have shockingly poor ideas. And it's not written by Joseph Smith or anybody credible like that. So you can take it all with a grain of salt, and people forget that sometimes.
Yeah. Now, I guess like I said, because we're kind of wrapping this up, but the last thing too is that like all these Star Wars projects that we're talking about have all been greenlit by Bob Iger. Like, we're now in the Bob Chapek era of things. Yes, Kathleen Kennedy is still at the head, but you do have a new CEO, and I think they just announced, now that Bob Iger's leaving in the next couple of months for good from being chairman of the board, there's a new chairman of the board. I think her name is Susan Arnold. I could be wrong. And she's hugely successful. Like she ran Procter and Gamble for how many years? She was involved with an investment fund at one point. Like you have all new management that's going to be greenlighting things now. So it's going to be interesting. Like, it really is. Like, we are on the precipice of a new era of Star Wars. The old era is partially gone. Yes, Kathleen Kennedy is there, but her higher ups have now changed. Even Alan Horn, who to this day I still think is the villain of the botching of a lot of the Star Wars films in the Disney era, because he basically had more control over it than maybe anybody else in the company directly. So yeah, like I said, I think it's gonna be interesting. I think there's gonna be a lot of new people in charge, which is good, at least is definitively good in one lens, because it's new creative energy, for better or worse.
Yeah, completely agree. You might call it a Disney Star Wars phase 2, but it's more than that. There's actually a bigger turnover than that. So I try to remain optimistic about it. I still think Galaxy's Edge will be awesome when I finally get there. Like, call me a heretic, man, but it's I and we talked about it last episode, but like I really still believe that there's a underlying narrative to the Book of Boba Fett that we know nothing about, that has a at least 50-50 shot of being interesting. So I am looking forward to that.
I just wish they would actually try selling that, other than just, like, again, Star Wars resting on its laurels.
Yeah, but I mean, if we're following their previous patterns with the Mandalorian trailers, hopefully the trailer they showed, which was rather lackluster in my opinion, has very little to say about the sort of arc of the season. So I'm just hoping there's something deeper there, and that's just around the corner at this point, a couple weeks away.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, Joe, you've been very quiet. Any other any thoughts on this? Any you want to summarize it, or?
Well, Patty Jenkins is going to do, instead of Rogue Squadron, she's going to do Rouge Squadron, and it's going to be about a bunch of cabaret dancers at the Star Wars Suite Cantina, and they all hop into X-wings and save the day.
Oh God, it's gonna be
the Outlander Club, Joe.
Yeah, well, they sit there from the burlesque show. They hop into X-wings and go into action.
Wow. I'm pretty sure if you say the word burlesque at like a Disney like Imagineering event, like you would just be like immediately just like, it'd be like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Like it'd be Donald Sutherland just going.
Okay, you just sorry to interrupt. You just tied into something that also happened yesterday that we should probably bring out.
Sutherland.
Anyone who's following the HASLAB Rancor Black Series project. You might
Chris, please explain. Chris, can you please give like a 5-minute breakdown of like the the tumultuous history of the HASLAB Rancor?
Okay, so basically, at I think it might have been San Diego Comic-Con like 3 years ago. They had a mock-up like prototype of this Black Series 6-inch scale Rancor at one of their Hasbro displays. It's probably like 17-18 inches tall Rancor toy when you really boil it down. And they put it into this HASLAB pipeline, like the same way we got the Barge and the Razor Crest in the last couple of years, which were by all accounts far more interesting products according to the fan community. So this Rancor has really been struggling to meet its minimum required number of backers, which is 9,000 at $350 US, which is it's a bit of a tall order for what the product is, because right now you have stuff like the Jurassic World line where you can get a big freaking dinosaur for like $50. That's not all that different than what this is from a value standpoint. So it's very strange to see that it's cost this much. So you got this expensive Rancor that sort of looks slightly bigger than the 3 3/4 Rancors we've got in the past, and they've been adding these bonus tiers, which up till lately they've been basically reissues of older figures. Maybe they had a newly sculpted Luke Jedi, but we've already got a very nice Luke Jedi in the Black Series, so it's sort of redundant to have a newly sculpted version already. It was a Gamorrean Guard, which already came out a couple years ago, stuff like that. So when Hasbro recently, we're in the last, maybe, I think we're talking like 8 hours till this thing wraps as we record this, and it's not going to make it, and to 9,000. It's at like 6,000 or something, and at last week they announced, listen guys, we see we're messing up here, thanks for helping us shape this product in real time, exact quote, that last sentence. We're going to add Malakili, the Rancor Keeper. Here's a picture of him crying because we haven't done any work on this figure yet, but you know what, if it makes 9,000, we'll throw in a loose Malakili for you. And there was this started by yakface.com. There was this meme going around saying no Ula, no Moolah. And a lot of people were resharing that. And it was just interesting to see yesterday that what's his name, Steve Evans, who was the Star Wars design director from 2014 to 2018, commented that basically there's no way you're going to get a ULA figure because it's 2021, if I'm summarizing what he said. So we've learned that it's impossible for Hasbro to make an ULA figure of any scale in 2021. And you won't be getting that with your Rancor, which is fine because the Rancor is not going to fund anyway unless a miracle happens. And I don't find it particularly interesting either way, so I won't be backing it on the hope that it does.
Yeah, the HASLAB Rancor, we talked about that like a couple months ago. I find it like if you're going to do a HASLAB for the Black Series, one of the least engaging choices. I get it; it's original trilogy fodder, but I think we talked about it like months ago, like one of the coolest like Star Wars like creature figures is the like Force Unleashed Rancor. And it's like pause
for 1 second. I'm currently staring at a sealed one. Okay, continue.
That's what I mean though, is that like for what this thing costs, you can buy one of those off eBay for less, right?
Yeah, I got mine at the Cincinnati Toy Show 2 years ago for $150. And that's perfectly sealed.
That's what I mean. So like it's like you can get something that's infinitely more perfected and is in the same scale you've been collecting for 20 plus years, or you can get the thing where it's like it's not much. Yeah, they're really like you have to be a diehard like Jedi Hasbro Black Series fan to even consider this.
And let's also point out that the Force Unleashed Rancor you're talking about was reissued as the regular Return of the Jedi Rancor in a Black Series box in the 3 3/4 scale as a Toys R Us exclusive maybe 5 years ago, and it sat on shelves and went to clearance.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So like this always just felt like another like Lucasfilm, Hasbro resting on its laurels, which is also Lucasfilm because Lucasfilm had to approve this. So once again, it just feels like, okay, like the Star Wars fans are stupid. They'll buy it. Again, it's slapping the logo on something.
Yeah, but not this time, hopefully. Like, I'll be mad if we record this and post it and it did get funded in the next couple hours. I don't see that happen. I find that very unlikely. But you know what probably would have made it would have been an ATST. And it would have been taller and probably less plastic. So, like, call me next time, guys.
What, really? You think that would like a Black Series ATST would have sold? You think?
I absolutely do, because it doesn't look like a lump of brown plastic, and like it's an Imperial thing. Like people love their Imperial vehicles. Like I think it would have been a no-brainer. Maybe you couldn't charge $350 for it, but I think that would have been a much safer bet.
And a lot more than that.
Well, I think it's material-wise, it's probably comparable in terms of the actual amount of plastic. But at least that, it's still from Return of the Jedi. And by the time this releases, we'll be getting close to the 40th anniversary of that film. It would have been a good call. I think that would have been a better call than the Rancor.
Is there, I can't think of another like Black Series HASLAB level thing that would be like worthwhile. Like,
well, most of the ATST is stick like legs. So like, if you think about the 6-inch scale version of the actual cockpit of that thing, it's quite manageable size wise. And that probably would have been a good choice.
Well, like the whole point of a HASLAB project is supposed to be like so mind-blowing. How could you not like it's the Kickstarter thing where it's like, wow, this is such a revolutionary concept or product. There's no way it could get made unless we did it this way. Like that's what made the Razor Crest such like a barn burner of a success, like backer wise, because like it was like even though the thing gets bloated up, it's still such a cool looking ship, and just it has all these features that like for $350. That's how much that was, right? $350.
I believe so. Yeah, it was cheaper than the barge. Yeah,
it was like, and then you have all these other features like part of it. I'm sorry, all these different tiers of like add-ons. It was like wow, like even to this day, like kind of like, even though like everybody knows I'm not the biggest like Mandalorian fan, and the ship does get bloated up, it's still like one of those things where I kind of regret not like backing it. Like what was that? And that's one where I'm like, yeah, that's real. Like, even though like there's so much value there, it was, and that's why I think got to such an insane level, because like everyone's like, wow, this is a phenomenal value. It's a cool design. They put a lot of effort into it. And that's the thing about, for the same price, the Rancor was like, that level of ingenuity and value wasn't there. And I can't think of something else like And plus, the Razor Crest had that novelty level to it because like it was a new ship. And plus, guess what? Mandalorian season 2 was in progress while that campaign was happening, right?
Yeah, but I mean, that's a great looking toy. I got the Has No Talent one because was as a constellation prize, because I kind of felt like I kind of regretted not backing the HasLab one. But anybody who talks about the fact that it got destroyed really kills me, because like it's just like you're so missing the point. Like everything gets destroyed at some point in Star Wars. Like even Han Solo got like sadly murdered by his son, and the Razor Crest has more screen time than the Millennium Falcon. So like people need to stop talking about the fact that it got blown up like during it. It's bad timing that it got blown up during the HasLab campaign for it, which I'm pretty sure it was within days of it ending or something. It got blown up, that's funny, and they probably shouldn't have timed it that way. But it's a ship that got blown up. Like it still had a lot of iconic moments on screen, so it's totally worth picking that up for all those who did, and as far as I'm concerned.
But like that's the point I'm trying to get at, though. Is that like in all honesty, it like, oh god, like could you do a 6-inch scale Slave One? I'm sorry. Whoa. I'm sorry. A 6-inch scale Boba Fett starship.
I don't think you could, because the Vintage Collection one, as large as it is probably half the size that it actually would be.
Okay. Fair
so
enough.
Like, I mean, you could do one on the same scale as the Vintage Collection one, but I mean that revolving living room we see in Mandalorian season 2 is not fitting inside that Vintage Collection one.
All right, fair enough. I'm just trying to think. Like, I'm trying to think. What's something that you could do from like the Book of Boba Fett is like a HasLab thing, other than Slave One, at least theoretically.
Yeah, hopefully the trailer was all from the first couple episodes, and we just don't know yet. And there's a cool, interesting new design, because the Razor Crest is like, that's like say what you will about like modern Star Wars, like that's a damn iconic spaceship design, and I think Doug Chiang had a hand in it. And it's one of those ships that like you just look at the silhouette of it and you know what you're looking at right away. So I think they're capable of putting out that kind of stuff, and we might be surprised by something new and interesting from the Book of Boba Fett. And hopefully there is. People obviously aren't feeling this Rancor, and hopefully I'm not eating my words and it didn't get backed. And the most interesting thing about it, the whole HasLab Rancor, from my perspective, is that Ula is canceled.
That is, if there is anything we get from this is like a fandom / collecting culture, it is that little tweet or comment, whoever it was.
Yeah, and I mean, he's no longer on the Star Wars project, so it's like, is it an official statement? Is it not? But he's saying, yeah, not going to happen. Interesting.
So, yeah, I know it's another part of the weird oddities of contemporary Lucasfilm and toy making. Chris, is there a reason why we don't have any like Boba Fett like figure from the book? Like, there's no like wave of Boba Fett. Book of Boba Fett figures coming out, like in release with the TV show.
I mean, there sort of is. Like you have Funko? You have a Black Series Fennec Shand, and
yeah, but that's all like that's Mandalorian season 2 stuff. I mean,
it's the same cost. It's the same costume though for her. Well, at least
it's gonna be for the first episode at least.
I mean, to be honest, she was wearing the same thing in the Bad Batch 20 years earlier, so I don't think she changes clothes that much.
Fair enough. But is there a reason why we don't have like a Boba Fett like re-armor version, or even him with like the Cobb Vanth armor?
I think the real reason, and I think there was a Mafex one announced maybe, but I think the real reason with Hasbro is that they've just been laying it on thick with original trilogy style Boba Fett's lately. Like, let's just look at the last 6 months. You have a Black Series Deluxe Return of the Jedi Boba Fett, a Black Series Droids Boba Fett that's coming out any day now, and a 3 3/4 Return of the Jedi Boba Fett, and a Droids 3 3/4 Return of the Jedi Boba Fett, and a retro collection Boba Fett not long before that. So I think it's just like that stuff still hanging out on shelves. At least the Black Series Return of the Jedi Fett is in my area. They have, like, Toys R Us, for example, has, and I'm sure Target has tons of those. They're sitting right beside Jar Jar. They have so many. They made so many Boba Fett figures, they can't sell them. So I think that's part of the reason with Hasbro.
Chris, I have a question for you. If someone would have told you 5 years ago that there'd be a Boba Fett TV show on the Disney streaming service, and at the time of its launch debut, there wouldn't be any merchandise specifically for the show, but there would be a Boba Fett droids figure in two different scales.
And a Return of the Jedi one in two different scales, to be fair. But
would you believe that?
I forgot that they did show a Mandalorian season 2 Boba Fett for the retro collection, so they have that one tiny almost Book of Boba Fett figure there. But yeah, it's kind of shocking, but it's also like, how much info is Hasbro getting? Do we believe them when they said stuff like, we saw Luke Skywalker in The Force Awakens the same time you guys did? For some characters, I think maybe they are kept in the dark to that degree. It's hard to say, but I think it really comes down to the fact that there's like 4 Boba Fett figures available from Hasbro like currently. Yeah, maybe they shouldn't have done that.
It also comes down to Grogu. Look at Mandalorian season 1. There wasn't any Grogu stuff that came out beforehand either. They don't want to ruin it.
Yeah, that's but I've heard, but like I think I said before, like I've heard there was guys who work at Gentle Giant in California said they had a good look at Grogu 18 months before that episode premiered. So it's hard to like that. That would tell you that it's the release of that product is a scheduled thing. They're more worried about product leaks in China than they are about design crews in the States leaking stuff. But yeah, there's just maybe they didn't know. The droids thing's kind of weird. That's sort of part of the Lucasfilm 50th anniversary celebration, which is also kind of weird because like most of us learned the year Lucasfilm was founded because of that Hasbro campaign, I think, because it was like 71 or something, right? So like there's not a whole lot of interesting stuff going back that far that we might want to know about. So it's a little bit of a reach celebrating that anniversary, in my opinion, but that's why.
Chris, do you think for the 50th anniversary of THX 1138 we'll get Robert Duvall figures and
yes.
Donald Pleasance
reaction?
Yeah, you might get. Yeah, you might. Then again, though, that would be Disney giving a license to reaction, which I don't think they have yet. So that'd be new, but that seems like a more likely candidate.
Oh my god, maybe the mechanical policeman. Because that'd be cool. Like, actually, in all honesty, that would be a really cool figure. Like the cyborg policeman, in the bike. Like that'd be a great that would be a great HasLab. Be like $120. You get the figure and you get like the motorbike. I'd be like, that would be one where I wouldn't be able to put my money down fast enough. It's like a 50. Like if they continue this like 50th anniversary trend, not just for Lucasfilm, but just for like all of its properties, like doing that as exclusively a HasLab thing, you get like with the little baton. That'd be fun. Like, would that be great? For $120? Like
considering that we haven't got a 6-inch scale Indiana Jones, so I don't see that THX happening.
No, as a HasLab, it has a minimum like 5,000 backers.
I think anything less than like 250 US is not worth their time as far as HasLab is concerned. Well, has there been anything lower than that? And it only goes in one direction.
I'm just spitballing. I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah, no,
I want some THX. I want known because like Chris is my fellow collector here, and so is Joe. But Chris is more like I would say almost like fanatical, like zealot level. For years, all I did was just complain about like all I wanted was a Jeepers Creepers figure of the Creeper, and like I know NECA forever, and it's weird how like I remember still following NECA religiously like in college, and a lot of the stuff they told us like back in like 2014 would never happen is finally happening. But like I see that they did a Mego figure for the Creeper, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm happy. So anything is possible.
Yeah, I mean, there's something almost funnier about it being a Mego figure, and I don't like. I saw a Mego figure. I was so tempted by. I didn't buy it, but they made a Mego figure of like Caesar from Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, and he's just got like a green jumpsuit and an M16. It's like a monkey with an M16, and like it's beautiful as a Mego figure. I kind of regret not buying it because I haven't seen it since then, but hilarious. They're doing something right over there.
Yeah, there's like, it's funny how like a lot of these other toy like licensed toy manufacturers are having a lot of fun. Like there's obviously NECA, there's Mayfax. Yeah, there's a lot of other companies that are doing some fun things. And I also think there's a very real possibility too that that Luke, I think I could see Disney doing its own lines of figures maybe and trying to pull it from Hasbro. I could see that. I could see Disney pulling the exclusivity of the scale from from Hasbro.
Well, I mean, everybody forgets so quickly about the Disney Elite series that is basically non-existent anymore.
Well, that was die-cast metal.
Yeah,
but somebody who had the Force Awakens like collection of those things were extremely fragile. Like, oh god, poor Rey, like, oh god, got dismembered. Finn like lost a leg. That entire series, if they tried, I'll give them credit. Like Force Awakens was the last time like a Star Wars like property got a proper like merchandise line.
Yeah,
even that was lackluster at the time relative to like the prequels.
But for the Elite series, they did do a good chunk for Last Jedi and Rogue One, but it sort of trailed off after that and into like weird one-offs. Like I think the last one was a Empire Strikes Back 40th anniversary probe droid. That's the last thing they did in that line. But yeah, I don't know. I think they tried that, and I think they'd probably look at that as a failure, because I remember those were retailing for like 30 Canadian, and I swear like half the time they were on clearance for $5.
Well, yeah, that's what eventually happened. Like there was the initial rush around, was it Force Friday in 2015, and then then they did it for like Rogue One and it cratered.
Yeah, I think they probably would superficially look at that as a lesson and not try again for a while.
Oh yeah, definitely. But like I said, I give credit where credit is due. But one last thing before we wrap this up, I want Chris to know that like as of when we're recording this, there is less than 3 hours left for the Black Series Rancor, and it's at 7,000 backers. Make a prediction now, Chris. Do you think I think it's going to get there. I think it's going to barely get there. It has a little less than 3 hours, about like 2 hours and like 45 minutes. I think it gets there. I think there's going to be a lot of fear of missing out. We know how fanatical Star Wars collectors are. I think it gets there, but I would say it gets there in the last 15 minutes.
I just don't know at this point whether I trust that we're actually getting a transparent view of real backers, because like this is a sort of poorly kept secret with the barge, is that like Kevin Feige bought like hundreds.
Oh, really?
This is like Kevin Feige owns like something like hundreds of barges in a warehouse to get it. Like he was worried that it wasn't going to make it, and he bought a ton. So like, I don't know if it's like, this is, these are the things you hear. So like, maybe he gives them out as with birthday cards.
Is that like actual like news, or is that something like you heard because like your connections?
I mean, a simple Google search could do it, but okay. I heard it through connections. No, I mean, maybe you can't just find that information out there, but this is what I've got on good authority, is that Kevin Feige owns more than dozens of barges. So you never really know. Somebody like a white knight like Kevin Feige could come in last minute, but I just don't see that level of passion existing in the community for the Black Series Rancor. And this is coming from someone who owns 2 Rancors. You know, I got my vintage Kenner 1983 Rancor in the box behind me, and that lovely Force Awakens one. And I'm not excited or interested in this one. So but when you say 7,000, I think we're really at a coin toss moment at this point. It's closer than I would have thought it was going to. It's gone up 1,000 since I last looked at it, and that was like, I feel like that was yesterday. So my confidence is shattered that it's not going to make it. I'm still going to vote on that side because I think it's basically 50-50 at this point.
I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen, but it's going to be a nail biter. Joe, what do you think?
They're going to make it a nail biter, and that's what they're going to do.
Joe's not wrong.
That's what I think they're going to do. They're going to hype it up. So, it almost didn't happen. Oh, better get it quick. Or they're going to sit there and say, we're going to need more. We're going to need more people backing it before we can release it. The next one they do.
You know what's interesting is that alongside Steve Evans' comment that ULA is not going to happen, he also said don't expect it to be extended, which is because a lot of people are complaining that, oh, it's that holiday times, I had to buy my stupid Ghostbusters backpack as well. Excuse me. Like, obviously you have no, like the Rancor is like lame, but like, for God's sake, a Ghostbusters backpack, like you see those at every convention you go to. Prioritize people. But there's he basically told this Instagram thread that an extension is not going to happen, which I think they've done for the Transformers one. So it's just weird that was just off the table from the start.
Well, Transformers is also their brand.
Yeah, but I mean, you'd think extending the campaign wouldn't be like, the rules for that wouldn't be different depending on the brand. That's interesting.
It's an in-house brand versus a license. I think that's probably what it came down to. I would imagine Lucasfilm probably has more control over this than like something like Transformers, where they can do whatever they want. I wouldn't be surprised if Lucasfilm tells them like yes or no on certain things.
Right. And they included, of course, in the novelty pile of bones that are on one of the tiers that's never going to make it, you have a skull of Ula, as if somebody had the wise idea that, oh, if we include Ula's skull as if it had been eaten and shat out by the Rancor already, people won't be mad that they're not getting her. I mean, has a more innocent thought ever occurred in a human being's mind? I'm not sure.
It all depends. Does it, when it does its waste, is it more like a dog or an owl?
Well, the other thing I was really bummed out by is like, look, Ula's got a very normal skull, and it's like, I thought the Leku were supposed to be like part of the brain, like, so shouldn't there be like openings up there? It's like when they put that hammerhead skeleton in the sail barge, it's like, that guy's supposed to be like basically a mushroom. Like, he shouldn't have like a standard like humanoid skeleton, but like, we're splitting hairs at this point, but this is the kind of stuff that keeps me up at night.
Like, is it like bear scat, or is it like an owl pellet?
It's just bones, because it's sanitized for no one to ask questions about whether or not it has been digested or not.
All right, on that note, so conclude this episode of the Knights of Vader, a Star Wars podcast. Check out the Facebook group if you are inclined to join in our shenanigan conversations and all sorts of Star Wars memes. If you like what you hear, please rate, review, subscribe to us on iTunes or whatever podcasting platform you're currently listening to us on. Thank you to An Insperiority Complex for providing our theme song. Check out the show notes to hear more from them. If you're interested in hearing more from me, go listen to the Cinemoddities podcast, where we are talking The Matrix this month. We're talking about The Matrix Reloaded, and Revolutions, along with Jupiter Ascending. And at some point next month, we will talk about Resurrections. So if you want to hear more about that and hear Rob just talk for 4 hours about what happens after Revolutions in the MMORPG, we have something for you. But when you're not listening to the Cinemoddities podcast, Chris Porteous, please tell us about the KOV podcast Instagram account and where people can find you in your spare time.
Yeah, if you want to stay up to date on our episode releases and some generally fun Star Wars imagery, you can follow KOV Podcast on Instagram. And we just passed 300 followers, which is completely organic and no nonsense involved. So that's good stuff right there. So I appreciate those of you who did follow over there, and let's keep that going. And you can also find me at Chris Porteous on Instagram.
Fun fact, I am the White Knight of the KOV podcast. I bought the 297 Instagram followers. It'll be our little secret audience.
Well, you could have spent a little more if you did.
I spent $30 per follower, Chris. Jeez. Joe Yazzo, what are you up to?
Right now, I'm currently trying to put a poll question up on the Knights of Vader Facebook page. Scat or pellets for the Rancor digestive system. So
I hate my life.
Hopefully we can make that
1,
canon.
2, 3,
so have a good night, everybody.
Yes. On that note, high note. Good night, but not goodbye. And as always, may the force be with you.